recording. And we'll start with the checkpoints. The portals are actually easier to do, but we'll just start with the checkpoints first. And that requires a few different things. I think I already kind of like did this, but I'm gonna do it again just to have it be in this this video and this demo. So let me just go ahead and delete that. So on Tuesday, I kind of added these in just to show the code, but I'm gonna do that again. Just gonna delete these. Okay, so starting with our checkpoints, we added the art on Tuesday. So where is it? Did I add the art? Did I forget to export it? Maybe I didn't. Let's see, sprites, the list view. Portals. No, I guess I didn't export it. Okay, so let's go ahead and export it. So I'll go back and go to my art folder. I think I put this under rewards. So here's my checkpoint. Can't open Pascal like that. So I'll go open Pascal. And so let's open the checkpoint. Okay, so my checkpoint has the two states. The yellow is idle and the blue is active. And so I just need to export my sprite sheet. So I'll go to export and go to download and just export it into my sprites folder, which is already open. So I'll click save here. And then let's open up my portal. Okay, so for my portal, I did this kind of goofy door that opens up to this little animation. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and export this. So I'll go to export, download, and I'll just save it in my sprites folder. So now I've got the art that I need. And so now I need to grab my scripts that I need for the checkpoints. So these are in the assets folder. I already have the assets folder downloaded, but if you don't have it downloaded, you can go to the lab page and download the assets folder, and then that'll be in your downloads folder. This up. Let's go back to the icons view. Delete all this stuff. Okay, there's our assets. So you just need to extract this. On Mac, you can just double click on it and it'll open, but on Windows, you have to extract. And so then you'll have these files. And in here, inside the assets, under scripts, there's 3 assets that we need, or 3 scripts that we need to make our checkpoints work. So you can select all 3 of these and copy, or you could drag them, whatever's easier, into the game, into the scripts folder. Okay, so we've got our 3 scripts, and we need all the 3 of those for this to work. So it's a little bit complicated. So you don't actually need checkpoints in your game, so don't feel like you have to add this, but if you have long levels and you want people to be able to get to a certain point in the level and then not have to restart from the beginning, checkpoints are a useful feature for that. And there's probably other things that you could do with checkpoints, like, you could make it different types of rewards and stuff. So I'm gonna create a new scene for the checkpoint first. So it's just like an item or an obstacle or anything else. It has its own, it needs its own scene that we can create instances of. And I think we need probably an area 2D for this one. Let's double check. Oh no, I have a node. Oh, that's for the node manager. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay, I need to add some more instructions there. Okay, so let's just add a area 2D. So we need an area for our player to overlap with for this checkpoint. And so for our area, zoom in a little bit. And so we can go ahead and add some art. So I'm going to add a child node, add an animated sprite. And then for my animated sprite, I need to add some frames. So I'll click on the frames, click empty, new sprite frames, click the sprite frames, just like always. And so we can, let's rename our default animation to idle. And then we need another animation called active when we achieve the checkpoint. So for the idle animation, let's click on our little waffle and go to the scripts, or sorry, sprites, and find our checkpoint. And let's zoom in a little bit. So there's 2 horizontal frames, 2 vertical frames. So we can select those 2 frames. And this is our idle state. So this is what we'll be playing when we're in the game. So not too crazy, but just kind of having a little motion so the player will notice this checkpoint there. And then when we achieve the checkpoint, we'll switch it to active. So I'll click on my waffle and go back to my same image and just choose the bottom 2 frames here. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks good enough. Kind of wonky, but good enough for a demo. So there's our checkpoint, art. Oh, whoops, I hit Command S and it's asking me to save the scene. So I forgot to save the scene. We're just gonna go into scenes and save this as checkpoint.tscn. And let's rename this area 2D, this main node checkpoint. So it'll look like that when we put it in our scene. So we have our animated sprite. Now we need a collider. And so this is what the player needs to interact with to activate the checkpoint. And so let's add a child node, collision shape 2D. And then you can choose a shape based on, the size of the checkpoint. Doesn't really matter that much here, as long as it's big enough for the player to kind of interact with. I'm gonna use a rectangle, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller so the player really has to kind of get into the checkpoint to activate it. Maybe something like that. I can test it and make it bigger if I need to. But as long as the player gets kind of close to the checkpoint, or up next to the checkpoint, that should be fine. So that looks good. We could also add a sound for when we activate the checkpoint. So I don't think I created a sound, but I'll just repurpose something else for that. So I'll use an audio stream player. I forget what this is called. Let's just call it activate sound. We'll see if the script has something different in a second. So this is our activate sound, and let's go to stream and load, and let's go to audio. And let's see, I don't think I created a checkpoint sound. So let's just repurpose our item collect sound. That'll be good for this. And maybe I can pitch the scale up or down or something like that. Let's pitch it up a little bit. Let's do 1.2. So it'll sound a little bit different. And so finally we need to add our script. So we already imported our script. So let's just go to the script section in the inspector on the main checkpoint node and go to load. And when we go to scripts, there's a checkpoint script that's for each individual checkpoint. And you can see it's a pretty similar script, or it's a pretty simple script. So it extends the area 2D, and it's going to save where the player is, and it's going to save this globally. So if we restart the game, we'll be in the same place, or restart the scene. And then we have a couple things. So we have is active equals false. This is just so that we can't trigger the checkpoint multiple times in one playthrough. And so then we do have this little on checkpoint body entered. And so that might look familiar. That is an event that we need to attach to a signal. And this body is going to be the player. And so if the checkpoint's not active, we're going to say it's active. We're going to play the active animation. And then here's what's actually going to update where the player shows up next time. And you can see there's a red highlight here because I haven't actually added the script yet. And then we have our sound effects, and I actually use the exact same sound, so that's good. We don't have to change that. So now we just have to connect our event to this function. So I'll go back to my checkpoint and go to my node section and find the body entered node and just double click this. And we can see the receiver method is already written correctly. If if it looks different, just make sure it connects there. So I'm going to click connect, and it won't let me because I have an error. Kind of annoying. So let's just comment this out for a second and go back. Oh, it already did connect, but it just wasn't showing it, I guess. Okay. Either way, it's connected, so that looks good. So we can uncomment this again. And okay, so I guess if I have an error, my signal disappears, but we'll fix this in a second. And then one last thing that I always forget to do the first time is that we need to make sure to mask our checkpoint so it only interacts with the player. If we have like lots of projectiles and other crazy things going on in our scene, that's going to mess with our checkpoint. So let's go into our collision section. I don't have a layer for my checkpoints, so let's go ahead and make one. So I'm going to go to project settings. And this is just a label. It doesn't really matter, but it makes it easier to remember where to put things. So I'll go to layer names, 2D physics, and I'll make layer 10 checkpoints. And while I'm here, let's make layer 11 portals because we're going to need that later. Click close. And so we'll put the checkpoint on layer 10. And if it hasn't refreshed, so if I click away and then click this again, now you'll see that's the checkpoints. And then we want to turn off the layer because it's not on the player layer. And then we can leave the mask on player 1 because the player is the only thing that can interact with this checkpoint. So we've completed our checkpoint, and now we want to put it in our level, but we need stuff for the checkpoint to communicate with. So the first thing, and the reason we're getting this error here, is that there's a global script that saves the checkpoint positions so that when we restart the level, if we die or we go to a new level and go back or something like that, we can go to the same checkpoint. So let's go to project settings. And here we need to go to auto load. So we have our regular global script. And these are separate because you may have some globals that you need, but you might not be using checkpoints. So we're going to load these as separate scripts. And so I'm going to go to scripts and go to the checkpoints global and click open and then add. And that should fix that issue. So hopefully this red thing will go away. Still there. Well, I think it'll go away. Oh, now it's okay. It went away. Okay, great. So this update spawn position goes to the checkpoints global, and it just sets the spawn position to the position of the checkpoint. So that's pretty simple. So then let's add some checkpoints into an actual level. So I'm going to go to my scenes, and let's go to level 1. And it's kind of a short level, but let's just put a checkpoint here where the player is now. So if the player gets past these first couple of challenges, they'll get a little checkpoint. So it's kind of a reward to say like you got past this certain amount of challenge, good job, you can save this point so you don't have to do it over again. And so you don't really need a ton of checkpoints, but depending on how long your level is, you can get a sense of what you might want to use. So I'm going to refresh the player position, and I'm going to throw a checkpoint right here. So to do that, I'm going to go into my scene hierarchy, and I've got kind of a lot of stuff in here now. So it's getting a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. So I'm going to go to level 1 and add a new child node and make a node 2D. And I'll call this checkpoints. And I'm only actually going to have one, but just in case I have more, I'll put this above the player. And then in here, I'm going to use my instance child scene and grab my checkpoint wherever it is. There it is. Click open. And it's going to be way over here somewhere. So let's go in here. Let's lock the player so I can grab the checkpoint more easily. Oops, what is that? Oh, the background music. Okay, let's lock that. Okay, there's my checkpoint. So let's move it over here. Okay, so this is a different type of reward. If I can get this checkpoint, then if I die, I'll restart here instead of somewhere else at the beginning. And let's turn off the snap so I can just move this into the platform a little bit. Okay, so that looks good. And so I'm almost done. The one thing I have to set up is I need a checkpoint manager. So I need something that communicates between my global scripts and the checkpoint itself. So I'm gonna add yet another node just to kind of keep this simple. So I'm gonna add a node 2D and I'll put this up next to the scene manager since it kind of does similar things. So this is my checkpoint manager. And I'm gonna attach the checkpoint manager script here. So I'm gonna go to load, go to scripts, and go to my checkpoint manager script. Okay, and one thing that the checkpoint manager needs, I need to actually add a couple things to my scene. So when I open this up, so the checkpoint manager needs to know where the player is. And it also needs to know the scene name. So our different levels are going to have different names, and that's how we know where to save the different checkpoints. So when we go back here, let's see, where are my export variables? Oh, they're not there. Weird. Should be seeing export player path and export scene name. I see those. Try adding the script again. That's weird. I don't have any errors. Okay, maybe I do. Let's check my output. Oh. It's clear. Okay, so I have my checkpoints manager. I have this script. There's no export variables. Okay. Let's try closing level 1 and reopening it. Still not there. Still no errors. Well, that's odd. So I can't do a demo without running into some weird debugging issue these days. Let's just close Godot completely and reopen it and see if that works. Okay, scenes 1, checkpoints manager, and there we go. Okay, don't know what the issue was there, but here are script variables. Okay, so a couple things that we need to do is assign the player path. So here's the player. I'm going to click assign, and I just have to find the player. So where's my player? Let's collapse all this stuff. Here's my player. I'm going to click OK. And then we need to set a scene name. I'm just going to call this level 1, so it just matches the name of the scene. And then this is optional. There's this thing called the scene objects path. This is if we start our scene and I get like, you know, these apples and I killed the snake and I get this stuff and then I get my checkpoint, but then somehow I die before I finish the level. When I come back to the level, if I want all of those things to still be gone, then I need to use the scene objects path here. If I don't care if those things are still there, that I don't need to do this because it won't cause an error if I don't fill this in. So it's kind of up to you guys if you want to implement this, how you're going to do it. I'm going to implement it just so to show how it works. So basically, I have like any collectible item, anything that can be removed, and any obstacle that can be removed. So the static obstacles are not going to be removed, but my obstacle moving can. So I just need to throw these into this checkpoint manager. So I'm going to click on this and then just drag. Oh, whoops, can't do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to click on this and increase the size and then assign. So let's go to item 1. I wonder if I can do a bunch of these at the same time. I think so. Let's see if I make a few more. So I'm going to do like 6, then assign. Now can I do it? No. Okay. So there's probably a better way to do this, but I don't really remember what it is. So I'm just going to go through and add them one at a time. I think there must be a better way to do this, but I'm not sure. Item 5. Item 6. Fortunately, I don't have a ton of items. And this should work with any type of item. It doesn't really matter what it is. So then I'll add another one for my life item. And then I have, let's see, how many enemies? 1, 2, 3, 4 moving enemies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's the only kind of like bummer about this particular script, is that there isn't a good way to do this automatically without like writing a lot more code. That probably would be hard to work in lots of different contexts. But anyway, as long as we add in all of those items, the checkpoint manager will keep track of those items. Okay. And then let's see. I think that's everything I need to do. Let's see if this actually works. So I'm gonna play my scene. I have these like ice balls coming at me now. This game is gonna be hard. Okay. Let's see. I need to either turn off the ice balls or give my player more lives. Let's give the player more lives and see if I can actually beat the ice balls, because it would be a good thing to test. So let's go to my global script. Let's give me, oh, I set my player lives to 2 at some point. I was probably just demonstrating something. Okay, so let's give me 3 lives. Let's give me like 10 lives just for testing. And so I also want to, I keep jumping above the background. I forgot to go over this the other day, but if I want that not to happen, what I need to do is limit the camera. I already have a limit on here. I guess I need to make the limit even smaller. So let's say negative 512, 512. Okay. Okay, so there's my checkpoint. Oh. Wait, did I run into the checkpoint? What happened? There we go. Okay, I got the checkpoint. Now if I die... Oh, I have too many lives. Okay, I'll have to jump off the side. Okay, so I died, so I should restart at the checkpoint. Okay. So now I'm at the checkpoint. Oh, but my items are still there. So let's try that again. Let's kill this snake. Okay. All right, so let's see if I missed anything with my script. Checkpoint manager. Oh, I have an error. Let's check my error. There's no animation with attack 2. Attack 2. Huh? What is this? Act 2. I think I must have just been doing like a weird... I must have just been trying to do a demo. Let's just delete this. And try it again. Okay. Okay, I got my checkpoint. Now if I die... items are still there. Okay, that's weird. Let's see, did I miss any items? I only have 6 items, and they're all here. And I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 obstacles, and those are all there. So let's see. Still have an error. Oops. Oh, I still have this error. Where is this coming from? Is that on the obstacle move? This one. Okay, attack 2. Let's delete this. Okay. Go back to level 1. All right, so for my checkpoint manager, let's see. I have the object paths, and they get saved. And this. Okay, so I'm just gonna test one thing here, but I'm not gonna spend a ton of time here. I can always debug this later. So I'm just gonna print out my scene object paths and just see if that actually works. And let's go back and check. My scene object paths, have my scene. Okay, so let's test this one more time. Okay, so I'll debug that later. I'm not sure exactly why that's not working. It looks like the paths are all set up correctly. So yeah, anyway, I'll debug that and I'll add the script later. That should work, but I probably just misspelled something or something. Anyway, so that's our checkpoint. So there are a few different steps to that. But it does give you a little bit of an advantage where you can create those checkpoints, and it doesn't have to just be checkpoints within the level. You can also have checkpoints that connect to different levels, and you save different versions of that in your code. So I'm gonna move on to our portal now. Any questions on the checkpoints before we move on to the portal? Okay. All right, so a portal can be used for a lot of different things. Typically, you want to use it for going from one scene to another. And it doesn't really matter like which scene is connected to what scene. You can set it up to go from any scene to another scene. So I'm gonna make a portal first in my default scene where I just kind of have some random stuff going on. I'm gonna put a portal in here to go to my level 1. And then I'll put a portal at the end of level 1 to go to level 2, which doesn't exist yet, but I'll just create it really quickly. So I need a portal scene first. So I'm gonna go to scenes and go to new scene and just call this portal. And this is also gonna be an area 2D. It's very similar to the checkpoint in its basic functionality. So I'm gonna go to other node and search area 2D. I spelled area wrong. So there's my area 2D. And I'm gonna add my art. So I'm gonna go to add child node, animated sprites, and go to sprite frames, new sprite frames, click on here. Same thing here, we have an idle state, we have an idle animation, and we have an active state. So I'll go to idle and add the frames. So I'll click on the waffle, go to sprites, find my portal, click open, and I'm just going to use the first 2 top frames here for the idle. And so let's take a look at that. So I'll go to playing on, and animation is idle. Okay, so there's my little door that's just hovering in the middle of nowhere. And so let's make our active state. So I'll click on the waffle again, choose the same image, This time I'm going to choose the bottom 2 frames. And let's take a look at that. So that's the active state. Okay, pretty cool. So let's go back to idle. So this is what it's going to look like. So now we just add in the collider. So collision shape 2D. And let's get the rectangle. And I'll just stretch this out to be about the size of the door. Let's turn my snap down a bit so I have more lines to work with. Okay, that matches pretty good. And that matches pretty good. So there's our, so we have to go into this area to trigger this portal. We can also have an activate sound. While we're here, actually, let's rename our Area 2D portal. Should have done that first. And then let's choose the right layer. So let's go to our collision section, put this on our portals layer, turn off the player layer. And then for the mask, of course, we just want to interact with the player. So I'm just going to leave the first cell on. I can also have a sound here. So again, I can add in a audio stream player. And let's call this, assuming this is going to be called activate sound again, and load some audio. Let's use, for this one, we can use our level end sound for this one. So I'll click open. And that should be good. And now we can add our portal script. Oh yeah, so we also need to get our portal script from the assets. I forgot to do that earlier. So let's go back to the File Explorer, go into our assets, go to scripts, and we should have a portal script. And so we actually have 2 different types of portals. One is for going from one level to another. The other is just for triggering the end of the game. And you could really use either one, or you could really use the next level portal even to end the game if you just go straight to like an end game scene that's separate. But what the end game portal does that's a little bit different is it instead enables like a you win UI scene on top of the scene that you're already in. So there's a couple of different options. They probably don't need 2 scripts. I could probably have consolidated them into 1 script, but we have 2 scripts for that. So I'm gonna copy these, go back to MMP 270, go into my game, go to scripts, and then paste these in. Just paste. Okay. So let's go back here. So we'll use our end level portal first. So I'll go to my script and go to load and go to scripts and portal and level, next level, click open. And this script is pretty simple. It just has one thing in it, which is the load level path. And you have to put the level that you're going to. So we're not going to fill this in right now because on different levels, we're going to be loading into different scenes. So for the basic default portal scene, I don't want to fill this in. And then let's take a look at the script because there's probably one other thing we need to add, which is this signal for the animated sprite finish. So what the portal does is when the player enters the portal, it loads a new scene. If we just immediately go to the next scene, we won't see the animation for when the portal actually, changes, activates. So we need to wait until that animation is done before we load the next scene. So just like we do when we collect an item or kill an enemy, we want to play an animation first. So let's go to our animated sprite and go to the node section and connect animation finished to our portal. And it should connect directly to this function. And so now you can see more of the portal script. So we have the load level path here. It has a similar is active Boolean, which makes it so we can only activate it once. It's going to play the active animation. It's going to play the activate sound. And then once the animation is done, here's the code that actually changes the level. So this is similar to our menu code. We get the tree, which is the hierarchy of all the scenes in our Godot game. And then we change scene to whatever path we put in our export variable. So let's save this one and go back to our portal. And I'm gonna go back to the default scene, and let's put a little portal in here. So I'm gonna go to my scene and add a child scene, and I'll type in portal. There's my portal. And let's put it over here. Maybe I'll make some more of this area. So let's go to my tile map, and let's just give it some more stuff over here to fill in. Okay. So now we've got another little area. Let's put our portal up here. Uh-oh, the Y sorting is being weird. Let's just leave it here where it looks okay. Although the blue, the blue portal guys don't really stand out very well against the green background, but that's okay. I guess I could change the color of this. Let's go to the inspector, go to visibility. Maybe I can make it more kind of like pink or something. Okay, so that stands out a little bit better. So that should be fine. And so there's our portal. So now we are going to choose the path that we want to load. So I'll go to my load level path, click on the folder, go to scenes, and we want this to load level 1. So I'm just going to click on there. And now we have a portal to level 1. So let's preview the scene, see if that works. So here's my player. I'm going to go into this portal. Oh, okay, we got an error. Let's see what the error is. Oh, cannot find scene manager. Where's that? On item collected. Oops. Oh, I keep forgetting about this. Let's put in our game over UI, just so it'll ignore this. Well, actually, you know what I could do? Let's just turn this off and put it down here. And I'll say, sorry about this. I'm getting an error here because I don't have a game over UI in this section, but my script is trying to load one. So I'll just say if the path exists, then try to load it. And since it's already in the ready function, I think that should be fine. So if the game over UI path exists, load this game over UI. If there's a game over UI, then make it false. So that way I can have scenes that don't have a game over UI, and that should handle that error. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's go to my portal. Uh-oh, so why aren't we activating this portal? Let's see. Oh, we need to connect, whoops. Okay, the one thing I forgot to do is connect the on-body entered for when the player arrives. So we actually need to connect the portal signal to itself. So when the body enters, that's the player, we connect it to, nope, okay. Oh, I need to connect it to portal next level. Whoops, okay. Let's copy that one, go back to our portal. I just got the name of this function wrong. Let's double click this on portal next level, body entered. There we go. So now this is all connected. Go back to our default scene and try this again. Okay, so here's our player. Okay, cool. So our portal works. It's really fast. So one thing that we could do is just make the active animation a bit longer because then it'll wait longer. So I can just duplicate these frames. So let's see, copy, paste. Just do that a couple times. So it'll play a little bit longer. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so there's my portal. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so I have a portal to my level 1. Let's make a portal to the level 2. And then we'll go over the portal that ends the game. So I don't have a level 2. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate level 1 because it has all the same stuff in it. And I'm just going to change the design a little bit. So I'm just going to go over this kind of quickly. So here's my level 1. Let's duplicate this and call it level 2. And I'm going to make a level 2. So I'm just going to go over a couple things that you could do to make this a little bit different. So one of the things that we talked about with level design is we want all of our levels to have unique sort of feelings to them. And so there's a couple things that we can do to make this easy. One is just like changing the color, changing the scenery, doing different things. I don't want to go in and like create completely new scenery. So what I'm going to do instead is just change the color of my background and my platforms to make it look more like kind of like a night scene. So I'll start with my background and just go into the main parallax background. And oh, maybe I can't change the color here. Okay, let's try the parallax layer. So let's go to the parallax layer and go to visibility. And I'm just going to change the color a bit, maybe make it more blue, so it's a little bit darker. And I'll do that same thing with my parallax layer 2, just modulate the color. So it's a little bit of a darker scene. And then I'll do the same thing with my platform. So I'll go to my 3x3 auto platform. And I'm also going to change the directionality of this level. So I'm going to delete this blocker here. I'm just going to delete this. And I'm going to erase a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to use more vertical platforms. And I'll delete this little sign here. I'll just delete this. Okay. So then I'll take my 3x3 auto and go down to visibility, make this a bit darker as well. Something like that. And then my other platforms, which are over here right now, I'll do the same thing here. Go into visibility. So if you don't want to create new assets, this is just an easy way to create a different look for the level with the same assets. Okay, so that looks kind of cool. Oops. And then let's delete some of these guys. And so I'm going to start designing the level a little bit more vertically. I don't have the right snap setting. I need it to be, oh, I need my smaller one. There we go. Okay. So let's put some platforms here. I'm not going to make like a really long level because this is just a demo, but I'll just make a few platforms. And I'm going to do a little bit more vertical stuff here. Okay, something like that. This makes it a lot harder with the ice balls because I'm closer to them. Okay, so I'm not going to go through a lot of different like level design stuff here because I just want to do a quick demo. I am kind of running into the top of my background, so I probably have to fix that as well. But for now, I'm just going to change the top limit on the camera. I'm not going to worry too much about overrunning this top side of the camera. And then let's just like move some of the stuff that we have in here around just quickly. So I have my checkpoint. I'll move this to like here. And I have some obstacles. So let's put some obstacles on some different platforms. And I'll put some rewards on some platforms. Okay, so obviously you probably want to spend more time designing a level with more of our level design principles that we've talked about. But just for the quick demo, I just want to change a couple things, change the overall color, but then also change the kind of visual design. So it's going more vertical rather than horizontal. So we'll really know that this is a new level. And so once I've got all that set up, we want to make a portal that opens up this level from our first level. So I'll go back to level 1. And at the very end, I kind of have this ending point. Let's add a portal. So I'm just going to grab my tile set and make a new platform over here and put a portal on it. Okay, so once we get over here, maybe I'll make like a little hole that you can go into. That could be kind of fun. Okay, I might need it to be bigger than that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, and let's put our portal in here. So I'm going to go to my level and right click, go to instance child scene and go to portal. And so this is where the portals can be kind of different, is I can set which level it goes to. So our first portal goes to level 1, and then this portal, scroll in a little bit, can go to level 2. So I just go to my load level path, go to my scenes, find level 2 and click open. And so now that'll take us to level 2. So let's give it a try if I can actually get through the level. Okay, so now I'm at the end, and I can go down here and go into the portal. Okay. I did die, and I think there's some issue with my checkpoint script because I should enter the level just where the player is normally, but it looks like I was entering somewhere over here, which I think is because I was going to where that checkpoint was, which doesn't really make any sense based on the way that the script is written. So I think the problem with the script must have to do with the scene name. There must be something wrong here. So I'll have to debug that later. But for now, that's basically how that should work. And then the last type of portal that we're going to do is when you win the game. So when you win the game, you could just use the regular portal and go to, so I'm going to put like another portal over here. And so when you win the game, you could just use a regular portal and go to a new scene and just have some scene that says you win and there can be some graphics or whatever. But you could also have something like our game over that just appears on top of the screen. So we can do that. What I'm going to do is just duplicate my game over scene and create a win game scene. And then we'll open that with our portal. So I have to duplicate a couple things in here. One is the game over scene. I'm going to duplicate this and call this like game win. Okay, and then for my portal, I'm just going to duplicate the basic portal and then call this portal end game. Okay, so we'll start with the game win scene. So I'm going to open this up, and I just have like game over here. So instead of game over, I'm just going to change this text. So I don't think I have. Did I make a you win sprite? Let's see, titles. Was this in the UI? Oh, UI titles. Game over. My game. Okay, I didn't make a you win thing, so I'm just going to replace this with the name of the game. So I'll change this from game over and load UI, UI titles, my game. Okay, so you could change this to you win or whatever, and then the restart and quit are still kind of valid here. So you can either restart the game or you can quit the game. So we'll leave that the same. And I'm just going to change this node to game win so I know which one it is. And this will work otherwise exactly the same as the game over. So I'll go back to level 2, go to my UI and add this scene in there. So I'm going to right click, add child node, add child instance, and get my game win scene. Okay, so there's the game win scene, and we'll turn this off. But when we hit the portal that we're going to put right here, we'll activate that rather than going to a new scene. So here's my portal endgame. Everything about this is the same except the script. So I'm just going to go down to the script on the main node. And instead of the main portal, it's going to be portal endgame. So I'll open that. And let's rename the main node portal endgame. And so this script is exactly the same. The only difference is that it sends a signal to the scene manager to say that we won the game. Because the scene manager might want to do other stuff besides just activate that menu. So once we throw this in the game, we can connect it to the scene manager. So let's go back to level 2. And we're going to go, let's rename this level 2. And let's go to our checkpoints manager. Maybe this is the thing, is I just didn't name this. This is level 2, not level 1. But it actually does have all the same objects, so I think I can leave that alone. And let's add our portal. So I'll go to level 2, add child scene, portal, end game. And we'll just move this up here. And then instead of choosing a level to go to next, I just connect this to my scene manager to tell the scene manager that I won the game. So I'll go to my node section, and on activate, we connect this to the scene manager. And here it is down here. And we're going to do something similar to when the player dies. We're just going to activate this UI section. So I'm going to do the same thing for my game over UI. I'm just going to copy this code and paste this. And instead of game over, this is now game win. Other than that, it works exactly the same. So then let's copy and paste this, all this nonsense. So if a game win path exists, load in that node. Just have to make sure to use the right things here. Game win and game win. And so then once we activate this portal, we want to say game win underscore UI dot visible equals true. So that'll just bring up that menu, and then we can choose to either quit the game or restart from the beginning. Let's see, if we choose to restart, that's another thing that we have to do, is choose the scene that we want to restart on. So let's go and choose our default scene. So we'll go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so let's give that a shot. Here's level 2. Let's see if I can actually play this level. Should have made a double jump. Uh-oh, okay. I got an error. Oh, I didn't actually load my game win. Oh, man. Okay, scene manager, game win path, assign to game win. I always forget to do this. Okay, let's try it one more time. I won the game. I should turn off the ice balls, but now I can either restart or quit. So if I restart, I end up back in this scene here, and now I can just play the whole game over again. Oops. All right. So it's starting to actually feel a little bit like a game because I actually have different levels and I can connect them. So that's kind of exciting. So yeah, that's our portals and our checkpoints. Again, these are both optional. Some of you guys are making games that don't really need portals or checkpoints. But they're super useful if you have more than one level. They're also useful if you're doing more of like an RPG style game where you want to move between different scenes and maybe you're talking to different characters and stuff like that. So it doesn't all have to be in one big level. So it could be useful for that. And you could also use checkpoints in that way as well. If you have like a gigantic level, but you have little checkpoints everywhere, your player could activate those checkpoints and then do stuff in the area and then go somewhere else. So there's a lot of different ways that you could use either one of these functionalities. I will debug the checkpoint script. I think I have an idea of why it's not tracking the items correctly. I think it's just a little bit different from the game I had last semester. So I'll fix that and upload that. And I will update the GitHub. So this new game that I've been creating this semester, remember that this is on the recent version of this code is now on my GitHub. So you can see that here, and I'll update this with what I added today. So it'll be the most recent version. So yeah, that's checkpoints and portals. Any questions on any of that stuff or anything you guys want to try with those functionalities?
Professor, I have a question. Let's imagine this scenario. I create a checkpoint in level 2, and I'm a super evil game designer. So I create a trap portal that would transport the player to the level 1.
Mm-hmm.
So what would happen if the player died in level 1 after they has been passed the checkpoint in level 2 and has been transport to the level 1 from level 2.
Okay,
if they die.
I need to draw this so I understand what you're talking about. Okay, so actually I need to restart the pen. Because I think I know what you mean, but I just want to draw it out so I fully get it.
All right.
So let's open up the pen. Okay, so my understanding is what you're saying is here's level 1, and the player gets past level 1, and they go to level 2.
Yes.
And
there is a checkpoint in level 2.
Yeah, there's a checkpoint here, and then there's an evil portal here.
Yes.
And the evil portal sends you back to level 1.
Yes.
But so let's say you start level 2 here, right? And then if you reach this checkpoint, but if you die in level 2, you'll go back to this checkpoint. But if you get to the evil portal and you go back to level 1, then you have to finish level 1 again. So then if you beat level 1 again, the way that my script is written, I think it'll put you into this checkpoint.
If I die.
If you die. Oh, if you die on level 1. No. If you die on level 1, so those are two different functions. If you die on level 1, let's say I fall into the ocean or whatever, what'll happen in level 1, at least the way it's designed, is the game over will come up. It'll say game over, and then you'll have the two options to try again or quit. If you hit try again, this one, you're still in level 1, so it'll put you back into level 1 unless you do something to change it programmatically. So that's how that would work. If you beat level 1 and you go back to level 2, the way it's written now, you'll be at the checkpoint. So it'll remember that you had a checkpoint. If you don't want it to work that way, you'd have to set up your evil portal to tell the checkpoint manager. It would have to say, delete the checkpoints, which wouldn't be that hard to do because they're global. So you could just say take the spawn point for this checkpoint and just delete it. But that you'd have to update the script for. This thing that you're describing, I think, it would already take you back to level 1, if that makes sense.
So I just want to double check. So if there are two checkpoints, one is in level 1 and another is in level 2. If I just pass the checkpoint number 2 in level 1 and use that evil portal transport back to level 1.
Yeah.
So if I die, I will be still reborn in
the checkpoint yeah.
Like in level 2 instead of a checkpoint in level 1.
No, because the levels and the checkpoints are handled separately.
Okay. So I will reborn in the beginning of the level 1.
Also no. So let's say this is level 1 and you start here. Okay, this is level 1, and there's a checkpoint here, and there's a portal here. And so you activate this checkpoint, and then you enter the portal, and that takes you to level 2. Okay. And so level 2 normally starts here. You have a checkpoint here, and you have an evil portal here. Maybe there's another non-evil portal over here. So when you enter the evil portal, the first thing that what the portal does is it sends you to level 1 or level 2, regardless of what checkpoints you have. So the portal is set up just to load the scene. You could change that in the code, but the way it's set up now, it's just going to load either scene. So if you tell it to load level 1, it's going to go back to level 1, and it's going to put you at this checkpoint. If you tell it to also, erase all the checkpoints, then it'll go here. But the way it's written now, it'll remember level 1 that you are at this checkpoint. Or if you've gotten farther, it'll take you to this checkpoint or whatever checkpoint you're at. So those are two separate systems that don't really talk to each other. But if you wanted to, you could say, go to level 1 and delete the checkpoint.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Other questions?
Professor.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I wanted to do it's kind of like the idea of progress. I mean, I'm wondering how I would adjust the portal functions to do this. I wanted to have like kind of floating black holes or wormholes that would shoot you from one to the next on the same board.
Okay. Yeah, so that'd be a little bit different, but that would use the spawn point. And that's actually pretty easy to do. Like if you have a portal, so let's see, where's my portal? Portal, next level. Okay, so the portal, normally what it does is it loads a scene. But what you're basically saying is I want to take the player and put them somewhere else. So you need to have a reference to the player.
Okay.
But let's say, let me just create a new scene real quick. So let's go to a new scene.
Maybe a sideline here is how would you make the camera follow it You know, when we're talking about like having like half a dozen of these things floating around,
Mm-hmm.
how would you make that selection random?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a different issue.
Okay.
Um, but so actually, let me not. It'll probably take me a while to actually like write this code. So let me just describe what it would look like, basically. Um, but it would be pretty easy to do with code. Like essentially, you would have like if you have a player. So if you have a player, and let's say you have a scene, and this is your portal, and let's say you have another portal over here. So the code is actually pretty simple because everything has a position. Everything that's a node has a position. So the player has a position, this portal has a position, and this portal has a position. And so if the player enters this portal, and this portal is supposed to go over here, then all you're really going to do in the code is like instead of saying load level, you would just say like player dot position equals, and then you'd have to get a reference to the portal too. So you'd have to say like portal position, something like that.
Okay.
So you'd have to have a reference to both. But then in what you're describing, where's my portal scene?
Is there like a wildcard function?
Yeah, you could use random for that. So you'd need a couple things. One is you'd need a list. So let's say you have like, let's say you have like a couple other portals here. And so each portal, so you could do it one of two ways. You could have a portal manager, like some little guy up here. That's probably how I would do it. This little portal manager guy knows where the player is, and it knows where each one of my portals is. And what it would have is a list of each portal. So it'd have a list portal, portal. And then, and that's kind of how the checkpoint manager is actually designed. It's more complicated than that because it's an object, but in the checkpoints manager, you can see there's this list of objects. So you'd have a list of objects just like you have a list of portals. So you can do that with this here, where you see export array node path. So that would be kind of the same thing here. But then what you would use is like a random function. So Nancy actually was using this in her obstacle code, but Godot has a random number generator function, and there's a few different ways to use it, but you would just choose one of them. So let's see. This is kind of the basics, but let's just say Godot get random item from list. Yeah, so you could do something like this. So you'd have a list of the portals. You would get a random number based on the size of that list, and then you would send the player to that portal.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I would set it up. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it, but that's what I would do. If you want to go over that, we could maybe do that. If you have, once you have stuff set up, like the scenes and stuff like that, we could go over how to do the code for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get my NPCs animated and my main character animated and all that. So it's like I want to get that all functional. This is like a gravy if we can get there,
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds cool. Actually, it would be interesting for me to write a script like that because I haven't written anything that's like specifically that does that exactly. So that would be cool. So yeah, that's definitely possible and not too hard to set up.
looking like a weekend's worth of search. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions? We have like 20 more minutes in class, so if you guys want to do a little work on whatever you guys are currently working on, we could do that. And if you have questions, let me know. I should stop recording.